GDP growth is basically the broadest measure of economic productivity and growth in a country, actually increased by 4.9%, which is
pretty solid.
Yeah, very solid. And it's up actually from the quarter before. This is for the third quarter. Sorry, not September, from the third quarter. Second quarter was 2.1%, which is still robust. Anytime you have positive GDP growth, it's a good thing. It's something that President Biden or any president wants to see. It's something that economists want to see.
Right.
But just how much it increased, it was kind of surprising in a sense. Most economists were expecting it to go up, but not necessarily by 4.9%. So nearly 5% economic growth in a time with interest rates being so high is pretty surprising.
Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle. I'm joined today by economics reporter Zach Halaschak. And Zach, as always, a lot of mixed news in the economy, but one bit of very good news was the GDP report. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the most recent GDP report came in, that was for the month of September, and it showed that economic growth, which GDP growth is basically the broadest measure of economic productivity and growth in a country, actually increased by 4.9%, which is
pretty solid.
Yeah, very solid. And it's up actually from the quarter before. This is for the third quarter. Sorry, not September, from the third quarter. Second quarter was 2.1%, which is still robust. Anytime you have positive GDP growth, it's a good thing. It's something that President Biden or any president wants to see. It's something that economists want to see.
Right.
But just how much it increased, it was kind of surprising in a sense. Most economists were expecting it to go up, but not necessarily by 4.9%. So nearly 5% economic growth in a time with interest rates being so high is pretty surprising.
Right. Now, in less good news, at least for home buyers, is mortgage rates.
That's right. Mortgage rates are just this past week reached the highest level they've been in 23 years since the turn of the century. They popped over 8% briefly and are now around 7.9%. But that's just so much higher than the sub 3% levels that were being felt literally just 2 years ago. So it's come as a big shock for home buyers, people wanting to go out and purchase a home. It's made housing more unaffordable and kind of added to the woes that consumers are already dealing with year-over-year inflation increases over the past couple of years.
So we've elected a new House Speaker, so Republicans can begin to legislate again, at least potentially. And one issue that has really come up with the Northeastern Republicans is salt. Now, I'm not talking sodium.
No, not sodium. We're talking taxes. The salt cap is an issue that is very important to Republicans and Democrats in high tax areas, so largely blue states with high taxes. So a group of Long Island Republicans, and they're all in very tight districts, close margins, some of them Biden even won. So they have to prioritize their local issues to get reelected. One of those is either repealing or expanding the SALT cap, which is basically it caps deductions that you could take on state and local taxes. So if you're at $10,000, so if you are in an area with high state taxes, high local taxes, you can only deduct that up to $10,000. So what they want to do is expand that to allow more deductions, because that would provide relief to a lot of the more wealthy residents in those districts. And that's something that's opposed by a lot of conservatives, because they see it as basically a tax, more just giving the wealthy free money. And they just see it as like kind of not punishing what sort I'm thinking of. They see it as kind of rewarding almost these
high
districts
tax,
with
high spending states.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, well, we'll just give you, an out for that, but it doesn't really, they say, get to the root of the issue, which is they shouldn't be having the higher taxes to begin with. So these Republicans, Garbarino, Lawler, D'Esposito, they've all kind of used that position to gain leverage. So the Republican Party is such a small minority or majority right now in the House that to get any speaker elected, there can only be a few defections. And so this group kind of leveraged that power and said to Johnson, the new speaker, look, are you going to give us some concessions here? Can we expect some negotiation on this front? And he said yes to them. At least that's what they said he said. And so they decided to put their support behind him and really were the ones who pushed him over the edge.
So this was a little bit of a salt shakedown?
It was a salt shakedown. That's right.
Thank you, Zach.
No problem.
You can read Zach and the rest of our policy team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.